everybody, welcome to the very last video in June's card class, and I am about to show you my favourite card of the set. As you all know, I love a colouring stamp, so for me this just really spoke to my colouring character, and I've created quite a straightforward design on the surface, but there's quite a lot going on there. We've got a 10-fold card, we've got some layers of Calypso Coral, Smoky Slate, Balmy Blue and some Old Olive, and then this beautiful black and white gingham trim. Love that. So I'm going to break this down for you into little stages, and I'm going to share with you how I made this card. And I'm also going to show you this little beauty, which is brand new. It was on hold for a little while. It's a take your pick crafter tip product, and I'm going to share with you a little bit about that as well. So the first things first, let's crease our card base. And for this card, you've got 2 pieces of Smoky Slate and 2 pieces of white. So I'm going to layer my inside first, because actually the inside, there's not a lot going on in there. Let's take this lid off. Now it was raining a minute ago and it's quite noisy in here, so I hope the rain stays away. If it comes back, I will try and speak a bit louder. Right, so in terms of our card base, that's pretty much all we can do for the moment, because we need to do our stamping on this piece. Now when I got this set, I did look at it and think, what is that for? So there's a couple of ways you can use it. You can use it as a sort of canopy with the dies that go with it as one option. Or you can do what I've done, and I've created like a little path, shall we say, and I'm going to do my stamping in Smoky Slate. I'm just going to move that piece of Smoky Slate out of the way. Okay, and I'm going to start by stamping this across the bottom, and I'm going to go about 2 centimetres up, and I'm going to stamp this repeatedly across, and then I'm going to turn it round and I'm going to stamp it across again. I like this stamp because it's got a straight line in it, so you can really, I say that, I'm hoping I'm doing straight lines, you can really get a nice straight edge. Now you'll notice here on my card I've left a little gap that's wide enough for the ribbon, so I'm going to start again. And I'm going to move it up just ever so slightly. It's probably only about a centimetre gap. And I'm going to do another line across. To go quiet when I stamp to concentrate. There you are. So that is my little path across there. Okay, put that to one side now, and I'm going to take the plant. Oh, excuse me, the sneezes now, just what I need. I'm going to take my little plant pot, and now from now on in I'm going to stamp in Memento, because I'm going to do some colouring, and I always like to stamp with Memento because it's the best ink for using with blends. And now I'm going to stamp my little plant pots. And I'm going to stamp a few of these along the edge. You can stamp them all the way along if you wanted to. Lovely. Okay. So we're getting the ball rolling on creating our scene. Now you'll notice the background of mine has got a little blue tint to it. So I'm going to do a little bit of ink blending. And you're going to need just a scrap piece of paper for this. So let me just have a little raid of what have I got in my bin. I've got a little bit of grid paper. So what I want to do is I want to protect my stamping. So I'm just going to lay that there. You could use a post-it note actually. And I'm going to go in with my blue sky. And you want to try and capture the space between your plant pots as well. And then try and get them as close to the top of your plant pots as you can. This ink pad really needs re-inking, but it just needs to be a little bit of colour to take the edge off that white. That's it, and I'm happy with that. Right, so the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to do a little bit of colouring. I want to colour those plant pots in the background, so I'm going to use Calypso Coral. I've got dark and light, and I'm going to go in with a little bit of dark to start off with. Try not to go over the edges. So that's my dark, and then this is my light. I do love me a bit of colouring. For those of you that don't know, I do offer colouring classes. My next one is fully booked. Sorry, my next one is booked out because I have to order all the products for it. But there will be another one coming, I think, in September. And then I've got some old olive. So I'm going to go in now and just colour in the foliage. And because these are in the background, I'm not being too detailed with my colouring. I'm just getting the colour onto the images. So that's my light. And I'm going with a little bit of dark. Just sort of around the edges. There we go. Just go back over with the light. There we go. So that is my base layer, and what I need to do now is I need to stick these few pieces together. Now, as I mentioned at the start of this video, I've run out of black and white ribbon, so I'm going to use something that is a little bit different. And let's see what I've got here. I've actually got this. This might be quite nice. This is from the Inked Botanicals suite, and it might tie in with the blue really nicely. Yeah, look, that's quite nice. Now, you will do the same thing as this. So I'm going to snip my ribbon about there, and then I want me some double-sided tape. And this is where I'm going to attach it. So did I get that right? So just line that up in that channel that you've created with your stamping and secure it down with a bit of double-sided. What you can now do is you can now attach that to the front of your card. And actually, just by changing that ribbon gives you a really different look. Now, to create your bow, slide that underneath. You want to cut yourself a good amount so that you can tie a bow. I actually prefer tying, excuse me, tying my bows this way. I find there's less waste and I can get it just where I want it. That's it. And just snip off those ends. That's it. I'm happy with that. Now we can put that to one side, and I'm now going to do my shop. I always want to call them houses for some reason, and I just don't know why. So this shop comes in two parts. Oops, you have, everything's falling off now. You have the top part and then you have the bottom part. Okay, so I'm going to stamp both of these in Memento. I'm going to start with the bottom. Dropsy. Thankfully I didn't drop that on my project. And then I want the top. So you're just lining up the two stamps so it now looks like one. Now you'll notice on my card you've got some chairs in the window and you've got some lights up here. And the lights are the best stamp ever. So just pop them down and then pick them up, and you're going to stamp all three at once, which I personally think is just genius. So just line them up in those windows. Love it. And then the little table and chairs is another small little stamp that you're going to stamp in the window. And then the last thing we want is the sandwich board. There we go. So now I'm going to sit and colour these in, and I'm going to start with my Calypso Coral. So I'm going to go in with Calypso Coral on the door. Because this is my focal image, I'm going to take a little bit more time and care with my colouring. Calypso Coral's also going to be on my chairs. And then I want it to be in this sort of fluted bit. And these lights. That's it. And then I have some Balmy Blue. I like to go from the lightest shade up. So you could probably argue that Balmy Blue is lighter, but it's okay. I do prefer colouring with a smaller end. And then here I want my chair to be, edge to be Balmy Blue. I forgot to go around the window. I've really enjoyed colouring these shops in. I'm going to go around the edge of this as well. I always open my Calypso coral the wrong way round. You'd have thought I'd have learnt by now, wouldn't you? That's it. Okay. I'm going to go in with a bit of depth on this. I'm just going in with my lighter shade, my darker shade, sorry. Blending that in. Now for the grey I'm going to use Smoky Slate. Okay, so I've got light and dark again, and I'm going to do exactly the same. I'm going to colour in, I'm going to colour with the darker actually first, just in sort of key areas. And then I can go in with my lighter shade. And I like to do my lines all in sort of similar directions. You notice when I'm going in a bigger area, I'm not going back and forth. All my colouring lines are going in the same direction. There we go. And then for the bottom part, nearly there now. And then the table in here is also going to be grey. I imagine one of those little bistro type tables. Now you'll notice on this card that my door opens, and that is where this little tool comes into play. Okay, so this little tool, it is known as the Take Your Pick Crafter's Tip, and it goes with this tool. Okay, now you'll notice you've got a pokey tool, kind of a pick one, you've got a blade, and you've got this serrated one. I'm going to use the blade. So these just unscrew, screw back up. Now you want to make sure that you protect your work surface. So I'm going to take half a foam stamping mat, and just mind your fingers because these are super sharp. And what you're going to do is just go around the edge of your door, and this is like cutting butter. They really are that sharp. Okay, so just go around the top, bottom and the side, and if you turn it over you should see if it comes out. And then just carefully with your bone folder, just go down the other edge of the door and it will open, and voila, there you have your door. Don't forget to put the top back on that, and then what you're going to do is trim this out. There are dies for this, but the dies cut out the top and the bottom separately, which I found out once I'd already put it all together. So if you wanted to use the dies, stamp them separately, leave yourself a little gap. But if you're not bothered about fussy cutting, and it's pretty straightforward, this one, because it's mostly just straight lines, just use your snips. And I think this, I would want to stop in this little cafe. I think it looks really quite inviting. There we go. So that is your shop that you can now bring back in. Also, look, there's a plant pot behind there. In which case I'm just going to move it along a bit, I think, so the plant pot can't be seen. Stick it down with some dimensionals. I mean, it could be that they're going inside the shop and going into a garden. That would work, wouldn't it? So I'm just going to put that there so that doesn't cover up that bit. And then you have your little sandwich board to cut out. Quite like this blue ribbon. It does look quite sweet with it, actually, doesn't it? There is a die for this, but I'm being lazy and cutting it out. Sandwich board is going to go about there. And then the last thing I've got to put on is my lighthouse street lamp. But because I've moved it over, I'm going to put my little street lamp in here. I really like that card. The last thing I've got to do is my sentiment, and I've got Wish You Were Here. Stamping in memento and then cutting out with this little double oval punch. You don't want the fluted one. And then I'm going to put that just on there with a little pad. And there you go. That is card number 5, all finished. I do prefer it with the black ribbon, so do use the ribbon that's in your kits if you have it. But I don't actually think it looks too terrible with the blue. So that's it, guys. That is June's card class all complete. Just do a little recap of what we've got. So card number 5 is this lovely stamped and coloured one. You've got card number 1, which is all the strips. Card number 2 was this lovely book fold. Card number 3 was our row of shops. Love the row of shops. And card number 4 was the Take on Patty Bennett's 2468 card. And that's it, guys. Thank you so much for following along. Thank you for purchasing kits if you purchase kits. Thank you for purchasing the video content if you purchase that. And as always, if you have any questions, please do reach out to me. If you're new to my YouTube channel, don't forget to hit subscribe. You'll get notifications for future tutorials. And I look forward to speaking to you all very, very soon. Bye for now.